Hi, Terry. Thank you so much for joining us today on Kidney Plugged In.
Thanks for having me.
It's such a pleasure to have you and an honor, I'm going to say, Terry, because you're here joining us to talk about a story because you are an altruistic, or what we call a non-directed kidney donor. So, Terry, we want to know everything. Can you take us back to the beginning and, talk about even your first thought? When did it occur to you that, hey, I might want to be a living kidney donor?
So this started years ago, and I was an avid blood donor, and I was up to 50 some odd donations, and I received a letter from Blood Services that said, sorry, you can't donate anymore because 2 patients had adverse reaction. And so it was really a bit of a letdown, where you were helping support other people, supporting the community, supporting society. And so I started to look for other opportunities to help. And one of the things that came up, because I remember my uncle having kidney disease, and he went to dialysis for years, and finally his son donated a kidney. And so that started to tweak my curiosity into looking. So I started to do research into being a living kidney donor.
So that was the motivation.
It was the motivation. And I don't know, Barb, if it's the aha moment, because you do a lot of research and, and there's a lot of great things out there, right? So I looked at kidney because obviously being a living kidney donor, and the fact is you can live with just one kidney, as long as you're healthy and so forth. So I just started the process and did the paperwork and started from there.
Where was the beginning for you? Like, you made that decision.
Yeah.
What was your first step? What was your next step?
So before that, it's not a decision you make in isolation. So obviously I discussed this with my wife, and we've been married for 40 some odd years. So obviously, it's important that she feels comfortable with what I'm going through. And I've got 3 kids, so we discussed it, and it was something that, we felt strongly about. And so once I got the blessing, I started, I reached out to VGH and got my name on there and started paperwork and the questionnaire, getting the questionnaire done, and then started the test.
There are many steps along the way. It's a long, very deliberative process. What was that process like for you?
Well, VGH transplant team is fantastic. Really, from the very beginning, they're very easy to answer the questions, answer any questions anytime, sort of thing. And one of the things they stressed was you can opt out at any time, right? At any point in the process, you can say, no, it's not for me, or I don't feel right, or whatever, and you can stop the process. For me, it was really starting that process and just, for me personally, once I started, I had to go through with it. And there were certain points within the medical kind of evaluation where, there were a couple iffy parts where I thought, oh my God, I may not be able to donate. And so, with rigor, I just kind of went through and one of them was the blood pressure. My blood pressure was high. They put me on medication. And so just to see if that would help. And finally they said, yep, you're good, and just continue on with the evaluation.
So no real large moments of hesitation along the way. You were determined this was a journey you were going to see through.
It's funny you say that, because for me it was opposite. I needed to see this through. It would have been hard for me to stop and not donate for whatever reason. I think when you're in that position where you have that mindset you want to help someone, and for me it was anonymous, it was a calling sort of, and for me it was really, I needed to see it through. So I was doing everything I could to make sure, I ate healthy, I exercised properly. I did everything I could to make sure that I met the criteria to be a living donor.
So you were taking care of that kidney that you were going to...
Absolutely. Drinking lots of water and, staying hydrated, for sure.
So how many months from the first test that you did until the end of the process?
I think it was about 10 months. There was a bit of a break because one of the things they do is a colonoscopy, or fit test, and I had to have a colonoscopy, and therefore it was delayed a bit. But once you're through the test, you're healthy. They make sure that you are ready to go. They're not going to let anything stand in the way of your health, right? Making sure that you're healthy to donate.
So an exhaustive process.
Absolutely.
Is what you're saying. But you also made a really important point, is that about the health of the donor. So through this whole process, the team, the transplant team, is actually looking to make sure that you're going to be healthy, not just to donate the kidney, but moving forward for the rest of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that the transplant team is probably going to hate me, but I kept bugging them, saying, do you have news? And you go through an extensive questionnaire, right? You do a bunch of testing here, because I'm on the island, before I go over and meet with the transplant team. So, psychologist, with the nurse, with the surgeon, nephrologist, to go through to make sure that you're able to do it. And each step of the way, am I still qualified? Am I still qualified? Do I still meet the criteria? So, like I said, it was really a calling for me. It was really, I have to do this. For whatever reason, nothing was going to stop me.
I think you meet with psychologists as well, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
they want to know the reason why you're doing it, and are you,
Right.
Is this something you really want to,
For sure.
to do?
And again, each one of them really stressed the fact that you can opt out at any time. So that was important.
Yeah. So you were waiting. You kept asking.
Yes.
When
Yes.
did you get a call? How did it happen that you found out that you were?
The donor nurse gave
Compatible.
me a call in November saying everything passed. The surgeon was, gave the green light, and you can go ahead and donate. And when would you like to? And so, given the fact that I've got B positive blood, I think that the donor list is a shortened list, a smaller list. And so I opted for early January. And sure enough, January came and I donated.
Your blood type, you said
B positive.
B positive,
Yeah.
right? So immediately, for any transplant patient waiting for a kidney, their pool is
Right.
minimized. So
Right.
that made it even more important that you were donating, right? How did that make you feel?
I don't look at it that way. It's just, for me, it was like, sure, it's a B positive blood type and of Asian descent, maybe that would help, right? So, the fact is, it was just donating a kidney. It was just helping someone, whoever that is, right? Whatever race or, child or whatever, just wanted to help.
Who did you share the news with first? I imagine your wife.
My wife and family.
You must have been ecstatic when you heard
absolutely.
that.
Because it was a long process, and again, there's a couple of times that you don't think you can make it, right? You get these where blood pressure or something, maybe a test didn't quite work out, and I went through multiple tests, and I had to repeat some tests too. So at the end, it was worthwhile.